John Rutan and Stephanie Lazarus met while they were both students at the University of California. John was majoring in mechanical engineering while Stephanie was studying political science. They started a casual relationship but didn't become intimate until after they graduated. After graduation, John worked as a hardware developer and Stephanie became a police officer with the LAPD. Despite having occasional hookups, John and Stephanie never formalized their relationship. Later, John met Sherri Rasmussen, who was the director of nursing at a medical center. John and Sherri quickly bonded and moved in together in Van Nuys, California. Meanwhile, Stephanie had difficulty letting go of John. She became an unwelcome presence in their relationship, causing discomfort for Sherri. There was even a moment when Stephanie went to Sherri's workplace to tell her that if she couldn't have John, then no one else would.
She told me that John's ex-girlfriend had come to her office at the hospital, dressed provocatively,
and confronted Sherri about John and said that if she couldn't have John, nobody could.
And she said, if this marriage doesn't work out, I want you to know that I'll be waiting to pick up the pieces. And at the time, I didn't realize how significant it was.
On February 24, 1986, Sherri debated whether to go to work and eventually decided to call in sick. John left for work, and a few hours later, he called their home. When he received no answer, he tried Sherri's workplace, but she wasn't there either. Upon returning home from work, he discovered a horrifying scene. He found Sherri dead in the living room, having been shot 3 times. LAPD forensic specialists also found a bite mark on her arm and collected a swab. Initially, the LAPD concluded that Sherri had fallen victim to a burglary. They speculated that the burglar had been in the midst of stealing electronics when Sherri confronted them, leading to a deadly altercation. The only items taken were Sherri's missing car and the couple's marriage license. Stephanie was cleared as a suspect and eventually moved away from Los Angeles following the murder. The police even created sketches of 2 men they considered suspects in Sherri's murder. However, the lack of evidence made it impossible to definitively link anyone to the crime. There were no witnesses, no firearm recovered, and the fingerprints they found did not lead to any culprits. But the Sherri's family just wasn't buying any of it. Sherri's father mentioned his daughter's issues with Stephanie to police, and a note was made. However, this lead was never pursued. The case went cold, and no suspect was identified.
I just want to thank you all for coming, and I want you to know that Sherri was the best professional in the world. She was the best wife that anybody could ever have.
Sherri's father persisted for years, attempting to reopen the case. The detectives declined, and it was not until advancements in DNA testing emerged that the case gained new traction. A dedicated LAPD team used this technology to revisit old forensic cases, including Sherri's. In 2004, criminalist Jennifer Francis uncovered the cotton swab with DNA on it. Surprisingly, the DNA from the saliva and bite mark indicated a female, disproving the initial theory of a male burglar. Unfortunately, no detective picked up the case at that time, and it went cold again. 5 years later, the LAPD finally reopened the case. Detectives rediscovered Stephanie's name in the original investigation notes and decided to pursue this lead. To obtain a sample of her DNA, detectives discreetly followed her to a local retail outlet where she discarded a cup and a straw. They quickly collected this evidence and sent the samples to a lab. The DNA test results were astounding, as they clearly linked Stephanie to the DNA found in the bite mark. This evidence ultimately proved Stephanie guilty of Sherri's murder, resulting in her conviction for first-degree murder and a prison sentence of 27 years to life at the California Institution for Women.